And welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Peter Winnick. I'm the founder and CEO at Thought Leadership Leverage. And you're joining us on the podcast today, which is Leveraging Thought Leadership. Today, my guest is David Wood. He's a former consulting actuary to Fortune 100 companies. He built the world's largest coaching business, becoming number one on Google for life coaching and coaching thousands of hours in 12 countries around the globe. He coaches high performing businesses. And we're going to just, instead of spending lots of times on his bio, he's sitting right here. So let's just talk to David. It'll be more fun. Hey, David, how are you?
Hey, Peter. I'm good today. How are you doing?
I am good. So let's just sort of dive right in. How did you get here? How did all this happen?
Wow. Well, it started, I think, in a country town in Australia. And you don't know this until you're older and you look back, but I had shut down my emotional side and developed the intellect. So, what happened when I was 7 years old is my little sister was killed in a bus accident, and I was there and I witnessed it. And we didn't know anything about therapy back then, and
Sure.
what you do with kids and what you do with parents and
Mm-hmm.
all of that. So apparently what happened is I stopped feeling and I got really good at school. I came top of the school, I got paid to go to university, and then I ended up landing an amazing consulting job on Park Avenue,
Mm-hmm.
consulting to Sony Music and Ford and Exxon. And this is at the age of 24, 5, 6. So
Mm-hmm.
I figured I had it made, and then someone suggested I do a personal growth program. And even though they all smiled way too much and they all wore name tags, and I thought this
They,
is
listen, they've got to smile. They're showing off those $40,000 caps. So they made the investment. They've got to show off the teeth.
I'm like, this is a cult,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
they cracked my heart open. And what I discovered was I knew a lot about systems and numbers and business and money. What I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know anything about was emotional intimacy, vulnerability, transparency, leadership, communication. So I've spent the first half of my life getting good with the left brain stuff, and the second half of my life catching up and learning all the things that I didn't know about. So now when people come to me, I say, if you just want more money, you should go to someone else. I can help you with the money, but that's just the beginning. We're going to look at how you show up in the world as a partner, a parent, a leader, and a human.
So how many folks never wind up spending the time for whatever reason developing the right brain? The left brain, there's easy ways for us to measure that. You've got your MBA, you're a consultant, whatever. You can do the analytics, you can race your way through a spreadsheet, et cetera, et cetera. We don't have the equivalent sort of measurement skill or measurement ability or screening skills to develop those.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many, and I'm biased because I tend to hang out with people who are on the personal growth path.
Sure.
My favorite mix is people who are really successful in business and they've got the emotional intelligence to be able to go deep and really communicate. I think our society tends to reward left brain stuff, or at least it has in the past. And it rewards a masculine orientation, which is I'm going to set a goal and I'm going to achieve the goal. And I was just on a couples podcast yesterday, and they said men in particular tend to focus on the money and the revenue. I think it's shifting with people like Brene Brown giving us
Yeah.
statistics and showing us that leadership requires vulnerability. And I've been saying for the last few weeks, it keeps coming out of my mouth, weak is the new strong.
Yep. Well, I would argue that if we were to magically pull up a list of the top selling business books of the last 15 years, north of 60, maybe 80% of them would have been marketed if they came out prior to that time frame as self-help books. So the kiss of death from a marketing perspective, when you put something in the self-help category, is men tend not to buy those books.
Mm.
Right. So now when you look at things like listening skills, emotional intelligence, collaboration, introspection, vulnerability, authenticity, those would have been packaged as self-help books years ago and been in that section in Barnes and Noble. But now, because it's packaged, quote, as a business book, guys aren't afraid to read it, or walk in with The Men Are From Mars and put that on their desk or
Huh.
something like that.
That's a really good point. And I love how you rattled off from the top of your head a number of different skills that I think are very important. I'm writing a book right now with my co-author Shayna List, and it's called Name That Mouse, because the
Okay.
elephant, name that mouse, because
Name
the
that mouse.
elephant
Okay.
is not the only animal in the room. And it started as a soft skills book. It started with like, let's connect deeper. And that's one of my highest values. But then I realized I don't want to leave out the corporate world. Don't want to leave out the masculine. I don't want to leave out, and I'm not talking about men, I'm talking about masculine energy. I don't want to leave out leadership, because
Sure.
I believe transparency and revealing and authenticity is a critical leadership skill. So we're trying to couch it so that, yes, we want to hit the self-help group, and we want to also hit the corporate market so that people can use this to make more money if that's what they want.
Well, and I think ways I've seen that done is to really Trojan horse it, bury the lead. You talk about the business benefit and outcome. And then, to me, the litmus test is, if I read the book, whatever the book is, do you go home and say, hey, honey, let's, I had this book on communications and, whatever. Let's try to have one of these kind of conversations, because there's a framework in here, right? People don't go home with their Six Sigma books and say, hey, honey, let's our relationship isn't quite efficient. Let's try to get it to be, black belt in efficiency and cut out the waste in our relationship.
Yeah.
She'd probably throw the book at your head, right? Like that. So I think it's almost organic or natural or intuitive for someone to say, would you share this with someone in your life outside of work? Right. And I think that's an interesting litmus test. What are the things? And listen, there's nothing wrong with, we all need to understand a P&L. We all need to understand about, like, there's things that we need to do in business that we need to do, but it doesn't mean that those are the things that we're talking about over the dinner table.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's my plan for the book, that people will, someone in the corporate setting might take it home to their
Sure.
partner and their kids. And someone at home who's reading it might be like, hey, maybe we should get our team reading this so that we can have more transparency and start naming mice with each other. We all know about the elephant in the room, right? You see it, I
Sure.
see it, no one's saying anything. But many creatures in the room are much more subtle. Maybe I suspect you see it, or I'm wondering if you're annoyed at me about what I did last week. Or maybe like I was 2 minutes late to this call, and I named it. I named it and I apologize. But if I didn't, that would be a mouse that's running around the room for me. And I'm wondering, is Peter annoyed at me? Should we talk about it? Should we not? Let's stop all the second guessing and all the crap that happens inside, and just
Sure.
start naming these things. And one of the things I think stops us from naming mice is we think that it's got to be a big thing, or someone's going to have to fix it or deal with it. Now, what if here's some new language that people have started sharing with me, and I want to spread it throughout the world. I just want to name it.
So I love what you did there, because giving people a common language, methodology, and framework is the first step, right? So if we had gone, you and I were both fluent in what naming mice is, and you made me fluent pretty quickly, then we can say, hey, whatever it was, I told you I was going to email you that report at 2:00 and I got it to you at 2:30. In that email, I might say, just want to call out the mice. I acknowledge I'm 30 minutes late. Hope that doesn't screw you up. And you might say, actually, yeah, it kind of did, because I was going to do that. Or you might say, no worries, mate. I wasn't going to get to this till 4:00, but thank you. But it shows an acknowledgement of a slip and a respect, in a way that's not saying, oh, I screwed up, or, it's like naming mice. That's sort of neutral. It's like, yeah. Always mice. If you're enjoying this episode of Leveraging Thought Leadership, please make sure to subscribe. If you'd like to help spread the word about our podcast, please leave us a review and share it with your friends. We're available on Apple Podcast and on all major listening apps, as well as at thoughtleadershipleverage.com/podcasts.
So you've raised, I think there are two very important points here, and I want to distinguish them. The first is the idea that we could just name it. Hey, I just want to name that.
Yep.
Hey, this is a first date, and I notice I'm feeling a little nervous. I notice I want this to go well. You don't have to do anything with that. I just wanted to name it so I can move on and let go, right? That in itself can be incredibly powerful. When I've named something,
you can exhale.
It has less power over me. But the second thing that you raised is, we'll call it the next level. Once you've named it, you could, your example was, hey, I noticed I was late on that report. I said I'd get to you by 5:00. I didn't. I want to apologize. All right, that's naming it. And you're apologizing. But you could go further. You could explore impact. you could check for impact.
Sure.
How is that for you? I just want to check. Did it throw you out? Did it
Right.
not? I want to know,
Okay,
how
could
was
mess
it
up
for
your
you?
day or your evening or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we, in the book trailer that we've already created, I don't think we go into that. So listeners, you're getting an extra step that'll come out in the full book. And that is, how is that for you? Like, hey, I noticed I did that, or I said that, or I've just shared something.
Well,
How
so
is
some
that
of
for
what's
you?
interesting in that is you might be thinking, oh, geez, he's really going to be upset because I got him that email half an hour after and that, oh my God. And I know, oh man, whatever. And you might be like, oh, actually, I was out of the office until the end of the day. I went for a bike ride and I know we said 2:30, but wasn't going to. So it's a non thing, but you actually sort of gain some level of respect and trust by at least, even though it was late and didn't have an impact, it doesn't mean it resolves you of the issue of owning the lateness.
Yes, this skill, if you, and I invite listeners, if you want to play with this, just go and start practicing it. Whenever you wonder if there's impact or how it is for someone, just check in. Hey, I just want to know how is that for you? And I want to model it now because I didn't do it at the beginning of this call before we hit record. So I know I was late for this call, and I do want to check for impact. Was that frustrating? Was it annoying? Was it no big
I
deal?
just
Or
blamed it on
something else?
technology and figured, like, oh, here we go again with the, the tech issues. But yeah,
Okay.
interesting. But and the other piece I want to talk about relative to naming the mouse, it's a classic example of that could be in the boardroom, right? That could be on a sales call. That could be a manager to their direct report. It could be over the kitchen table. So
Yes.
there's
Yes.
litmus tests that I'm always looking at because I'm in the same, oh, could I, like you meant, could you use it on a date, right? Hey, I'm usually not this awkward. I'm feeling goofy tonight. When I'm nervous, whatever it is, you can at least put it
Exactly.
around. I normally don't put my fork in the coffee or whatever it is, right? You can
Yeah.
just put it out there.
Which brings us to some of the benefits of this. Let's suppose you're on a date and you notice your brain says, "Oh wow, I'm clumsy." Right? Your brain says that inside, and then the brain might go, "Wow, I'm pretty nervous,"
Mhm.
and then you might notice, "Oh, I want this to go well." Now you have an opportunity, now that you've revealed your own experience to yourself, which doesn't often happen because the mind can bury all these things. But once you've noticed it, you have the opportunity to name it. I just want to name, just as you did it so beautifully, Peter. And then what that allows, firstly, I might relax. Once I've named it, I'm probably going to be more chill. I do this
Sure.
on stage in front of audiences. Okay, I'm feeling a bit nervous and I'm excited and I'm going to take a deep breath. You're welcome to join me. That gets me more connected and present in my own skin. But the other thing is, if my date was noticing that I'm pretty clumsy and she's like, what's going on with this guy? If it's now named, my date can go, oh, I totally get it. All right, you're a bit
Right.
nervous. You know
Right.
what? I'm a little nervous too. And now we can relate and connect. And
When it becomes
it's,
it brings you closer, not further apart, the awkwardness. Well, I'm feeling, and she might be manifesting the awkwardness in a different way. Maybe she's a little bit more reserved. Maybe she's a little, because then we can talk about when we're nervous, how do we each respond? And that's a conversation. That's authentic. That's transparent. That's vulnerable, right? So,
exactly. So the withholding the mice, not naming them, keeps us distant. Oh, I hope she doesn't work out how nervous I am. But
yep,
the
yep.
naming of it can actually bring us closer together. And I would suggest, I don't have hard data on this, but I would suggest 9 times out of 10, maybe 8, you're going to feel close to the other person. They're going to feel closer to you, or both. Now, if that doesn't happen, and sometimes it won't happen, I might name a mouse with you that I'm
Sure.
annoyed by something you did last week. I've got a friend who cancels a lot when we've got plans because she's got health issues. Now, if
Sure.
I name a mouse with her, if she might have a reaction, she might get defensive, she might feel upset.
Sure.
I say, hey, do it as kindly as you can. And if they do have a reaction, they do get upset, stick with them.
Yeah.
Stick with them while they have it. Explore the impact. What's that like for you? Oh, that sounds really frustrating. Practice some empathy. And then usually they'll get over it. And if not quickly, hey, I've had people take a couple of months to get over something that I've named.
Sure.
But
Sure.
if they do get over it and they come back, now we're closer and the friendship is stronger. If they don't, and I've just blown their circuits, then maybe we weren't supposed to be connected anyway.
Yeah, and it's not, the intent is not to use the mouse as a weapon, right?
No,
It's to just
no,
name it, period, not to beat you in the head with it, right?
no. I look, you can do that. And when we're
That's called
hurting,
being a jerk, right?
yes. And it's also called what we do when we're hurting.
Right.
So, and if we don't have the skill, so you may do that accidentally, and then you get to go and repair it. Hey, I noticed I wasn't. Oh, can I name a mouse with you? When I named that last mouse, I think I did a bad job, and
Yep.
I'd like to try it again. I want a do over. Often
Very
you can
cool.
get a do
So
over.
I'd like to shift for the last few minutes that we have here to the sort of the other side of this. Okay, so I get the methodology. It's interesting, right? Very interesting. Let's talk about the business models, right? Because as a thought leader, there's lots of ways to try to get your work out into the marketplace and make a living with it, right? Because we want to have impact, but we also need income, right? So what are your thoughts, or and you could either look backwards or forward in terms of things that you've done in the past or things that you're planning on doing. What does that look like for you?
Are we talking about the model to choose between impact and income, or to maximize both?
No. I'm well, you can maximize both. I'm saying, what are the underlying business models for you
Okay.
with naming them,
So,
or what have they been, and what might they be differently when you launch the new platform on Name the Mouse?
yeah, one that I did use, I wrote a book years ago called Get Paid for Who You Are. And
Mm-hmm.
the model I used then was to give the book away for free,
Mm-hmm.
and use it as a fundraiser to raise money for the Rainforest Foundation that was created by Sting. So we raised 60 grand, gave the book away for free. We had people sharing the book for charity,
Mm-hmm.
because we'd give the book away and say, now that you have the book for free, would you like to donate a few dollars to the Rainforest
Oh, that's
Foundation?
interesting. So what you might have paid for the book, give a fraction of that or some of that or
Yeah,
all to the main part. Yeah.
exactly. And on average, I think, 60,000 books, and on average, people paid $1. So it was
Mm-hmm.
$60,000. And then I I said, this is what to do. If you want more help doing that, here's our online course. And then we did a big launch and made money on the back end. Now, this one is very different. This one, I'm focused mainly on the impact. I just want to spread this far and
Got it.
wide. I don't really expect books to make money. Um, and just recently, I've been thinking, well, I need to allow for the possibility. As Jack Canfield said to me once,
Sure.
well, at least allow for the possibility of
Right. You're
earning.
not
I'm
right.
like,
You're not going to give it back if they decide that there's ways they'd like to throw it at you. Right.
yeah. So what we're going to do, I think we're going to take on a charity as a partner, and we'll donate a percentage of the proceeds. 10 to 20% of the profits of the book will go to a charity that's related to communication. And then regarding money, I'll probably just put something in the back. If you'd like support for your team, for your company, for your
Mhm.
relationship, here's where to go to get help from Shayna, my co-author, or where
Mhm.
to get help from David. I'd love to do name that mouse workshops for companies. I think Zoom
Sure.
calls and face-to-face workshops,
Sure.
get them revealing and practicing. So that's the model from someone who's not really attached to making money from this project.
Got it. Well, this has been great. I appreciate your time and sharing where you are and where you're going in the journey. Great stuff. Thank you, David.
Thanks, Peter. This was really fun. I'm feeling lit up today.
Cool. To learn more about Thought Leadership Leverage, please visit our website at thoughtleadershipleverage.com. To reach me directly, feel free to email me at peter@thoughtleadershipleverage.com. And please subscribe to Leveraging Thought Leadership on iTunes or your favorite podcast app to get your weekly episode automatically.